Hey, DevCentral community, Aubrey here, and I'm bringing you a special edition of DevCentral Connects today on a glorious Wednesday. If you're unfamiliar with DevCentral, if this happens to be your first time tuning in somehow, just understand that DevCentral is the F5 user community. We've been around for a good 20 plus years, and we have a number of evangelists on our team right now, which you can see aside from myself. We also have Boo Lamb, Jason Rom, and Chase Abbott, who contribute to our community, which you can find on a number of different places. Community.f5.com is what we've had for 20 plus years. We've been kind of maintaining that and making sure that it's got all the latest code snippets and architectural niceties and things that you'd expect out of a technical user community. But we also have our LinkedIn, which has quite a bit, and also our YouTube is quite heavily trafficked. We have about somewhere around 85,000 subscribers, 80,000 views a month. It's very, very heavy. And we try to make sure that we keep everything out there so that you guys can just see what's happening in the community at a glance. And today, actually, we've got a pretty interesting bit of time planned. We're going to talk a little bit about open financing with some experts. I'm going to bring on Chad Davis and Travis Kreikemeier. So I said that right, man?
You did.
I did. Okay, good. I did. I had to practice that. I will definitely admit it. That's one of those behind the scenes things you want to take care of, but I'll expose it live. How are you guys today?
Good. Doing well.
Doing well. Good to hear.
Yeah.
I guess if just in case the community does not know you guys, it's possible. Why don't we go through and just kind of give these guys an idea of what it is that you do? Chad, maybe start with you.
Sure. Hey, everyone. So my name is Chad Davis. I am a industry specialist at F5. I focus on the financial services and insurance and banking industry. I've been in the space for around 15 years, focusing on thought leadership and different types of elements in the industry. And been at F5 for about 5 years, and glad to be here. This is my first time at DevCentral. It's an honor.
Very cool. Travis?
Oh, yeah. Travis Kreikemeier. I'm a senior solutions engineering manager in the financial services vertical at F5. So I lead a team of engineers that help find solutions for our financial services customers.
Fantastic. So we are definitely talking to the right people if we're wanting to find out a little bit more about open finance. That's been a huge topic over the past few years. I think probably right before taking this evangelism job, I did some time on our financial services team with distributed cloud. So I did have a little bit of exposure to this as a topic and did have to take a look at some of the architectures and whatnot. But it looks like there has been a new analyst report that's come out kind of talking a little bit about open finance and why that matters for banks. So I guess, Chad, you want to give a little bit on what the TwinBit report is?
Yeah, sure. So we've been working with TwinBit for quite some time. It's an investment that we like to make here at F5 to help our customers best understand the open finance movement and the associated innovations and challenges that come along with it. This is actually the third iteration of the report. We've initially did the first version back in 2020. We did another version in 2023, and this is the third time now. It's interesting how the report has evolved, kind of like with the times. Initially, it was just about open banking, and as new kind of innovations and movements have joined in with the open banking, now it's open finance movement, right? With the things like that data monetization and embedded finance, banking as a service. So TwinBit is a great partner in putting all this together and understanding the use cases and things like that that we have done here now for the third time.
Awesome. Well, I guess I'm going to just pull it right up. I do have the PDF to share. I figured it'd be a good idea to just kind of maybe, if you want to, oh, that was the wrong one. No, we want to do this one. Okay, that's
Yes.
better. So this is the Global State of Open Finance 2025 report. And this can be, we're going to actually include a link so that if anyone is interested in kind of making sure that they have a thorough understanding of this, you can go to the link and get that report. We'll do that kind of on the video after the fact. But if you have some kind of highlights or just kind of want to walk me through the big picture findings, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, sure. If you want to go to maybe to the third or fourth page there.
This one.
I think we'll start off with yeah, this one's a good one. So I kind of touched on this a little bit ago on how the movement itself has transformed from open banking now into more of an open finance movement. It's a global movement. This is kind of a nice timeline. Initially, with all the data sharing that kind of defined the open banking movement at first, it was really more of a regulatory foundation. A lot of countries, use this as a moment to help protect consumers and account holders through putting in more strict kind of regulations. And then over time, it has evolved. It's really become, obviously regulatory foundations is still important, but it's really become more of an innovation kind of led movement in a lot of ways. Things like I mentioned earlier, embedded finance, banking as a service, data monetization. These things are all kind of clumped under open finance now. And now in this kind of third stage, as you can see there in the bottom right, we're in this AI era that's just just making this all the much more as far as around AI, innovation and exploring different types of marketing initiatives or market initiatives to expand this. At the end of the day, it's all about making the journeys for account holders in the financial services space a more streamlined, secure experience. And this report, this does a nice job of kind of laying out great use cases and stuff. But yeah, I'll pause there. I mean, did you all have any thing to add on this page, maybe?
No, that's pretty clear. It seems that there's there have been some changes since at least since I first started with this. So, and plus, I mean, architectures in general for applications seem to have changed a lot. I mean, with artificial intelligence coming forth and so many new technology adjustments.
Right. Yeah, we're definitely seeing with artificial intelligence, people being able to make more threats and targets and be able to write more crafted scripts using artificial intelligence, but also a lot of like the money market and wealth management systems using AI to manage your money is also generating a lot more traffic into APIs and open finance solutions.
Yeah. There are so many different fintechs out there, right?
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it seems as that has a little bit different. What kinds of what kind of pains are buyers experiencing, Chad? Or is there a particular marketing messaging that's kind of occurring with that?
Yeah, I think it's the movement itself is so massive and it kind of encapsulates so many different things. It's almost like digital transformation. Everybody understands it's an important topic. There's so many ways you can go with that, right? I mean, when you're talking about using APIs, obviously, there's a big pain around securing it with the right third parties out there. There's lots of conversations about giving access, the larger banks giving access to fintechs. And who owns the data? Is it the bank? Is it the customer? And whose right is it to use it? Those kind of conversations have really kind of ignited some interest and in some case controversy. But first and foremost, I think the pain is around making sure that the customer journey is streamlined and is what they want, right? And banks need to, and insurance companies and wealth advisor firms need to make sure that their account holders are secure and they're having a streamlined experience. And it's kind of at the pit of all of this.
Awesome. Now, one of the things that I saw as I was looking through the report was this guy. I mean, as far as growth opportunities are concerned, this looks like a massive adjustment in the market.
Yeah, this is a nice quantitative slide to show how big the movement really is. The current state by itself, I mean, you see there in the bottom right of that white section, 15.7 trillion global digital wallet consumers of business spending in 2024. I mean, these are massive numbers, right? One that really catches my eye, and it's not necessarily the percentages in on here, but there's one around the API market itself, and how it's there in the future state. It says 720 billion in the bottom left corner. And in the current state, the API market is 37 billion there on the current state. So this is a 500% increase in the API size market, which is a pretty wild, number, right? This is how much banks and financial services firms are going to be spending on their, making sure their APIs are secure, et cetera, and scalable and everything like that.
And of course, the cost of not making those changes to defend those APIs is going to be more costly than the change. I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
I think it speaks a lot to AI, right? Like the number of API sprawl is already out of control, but when you throw AI in there, I mean, how many more APIs are there even now?
no doubt, and it's about to get way exponentially bigger. Another thing I noticed in here was actually just as far as geographies are concerned, it seems to be that there's a little bit of a difference in terms of readiness.
Yeah, at the heart of this report is this matrix. What TwinBit does is they take 32 different countries and they evaluate the regulatory initiatives that are happening in each country, and then the market initiatives, the kind of innovations that are happening in each country, and then they use this to kind of place and study and figure out who's in which quadrant there. As you can see, it's kind of like the quadrant top right corner is where you want to be. And be a champion. But as you can see, kind of two of the major players in China and USA who haven't really been led by regulatory initiatives historically are at the top of the enthusiasts. And obviously, tons of the market kind of resides in those two countries. So it's interesting. There is some CFPB 1033 stuff going on, kind of up in the air with being rewritten and whatnot. But USA historically has been self-regulated and whatnot in this space. But TwinBit's analysis here, they at the end of the day, it's all about regulation and market initiatives driving open finance. And the further you are in both of those things, the further you are along and being successful in open finance.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So that gives us just a kind of a little bit of a broad picture on the business aspect. Anything you want to bring up beyond that? But I do want to dive into the architectures a little bit and kind of some of the technology of it.
Yeah, I'll just give a little commercial for the rest of this report. I mean, there's 20 something pages, but they go into detail on each quadrant here and champions and enthusiasts specifically with detailed case studies, which is kind of an interesting deep dive and you can learn which regulations are in each countries, how they're affecting, the just interesting ways that people are doing innovative things is all in this great report. To kind of set the stage and get ideas from.
Okay, not bad at all. Okay, well,
Yeah.
I don't want to give away too much of this. Somebody's out there like screenshotting this right now, going, "Ooh."
Yeah, you got to tease it, right? Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of the finish of our teaser. And now I did want to bring up something different because we did have. I'm going to give actually a quick shout out to this page. Right, this is the page that we've got for open finance that's out there on f5.com. So if you're looking for just kind of notes on this, Cliff's notes, or kind of a way to make sure that your F5s in the environment are ready for open finance, this is a good spot to start. And we will definitely put a link to this in the video description when we're all done with the live stream.
But you can find the report on this page and a bunch of other content that we have as far as articles, blogs, videos, all sorts of good stuff.
Right, exactly. Awesome. Yeah. The reason I brought it up, though, was so that Travis could actually maybe speak to some of the architecture a little bit. We did have a handy architectural slide here, and the thing that kind of just sort of blew my mind was the authentication portion of this. Is like, holy cow. It's this is quite a bit of auth going on in here. You want to, just kind of give an overview of what people can expect out of the architectures, the technology adjustments?
Yeah, for sure. With open finance, obviously we've been talking about it's going to have a ton of APIs with it, and APIs that you're going to have to expose to the internet for your partners, for your customers to be able to access either through apps or through different solutions. Well, with that comes a major security vector and issues for your environment and for your customers' data. So this kind of diagram kind of depicts a lot of the functionality and features that you should be looking for in some type of solutions that would help protect those APIs and the data in your environment. And so, definitely as you evaluate different solutions, you want to make sure that they can fit one in your environment. So you definitely want to find a solution that can be deployed in the public cloud, on-prem, in containers, virtual and software, or delivered as a service. So there's a lot of options. You want to make sure that you can meet where your apps and your APIs are. And ideally, you find a solution that can be deployed in all of them and have a single pane of glass to manage it and have a similar policy across the board. I may know a company that does offer that. So through that, you kind of mentioned authentication. Obviously that's one of the bigger issues with API. I mean, there's a lot of security issues with APIs, but one of the bigger ones is authentication. So identifying who the person is, and then authorization, identifying, okay, you're this person. What part of the API should you have access to, and should it be read-only? Should you be able to modify? So there's a lot of things around that, and a lot of that stuff comes into a lot of the threat vectors. So like the OWASP top 10, the number one is BOLA, so like broken object level authentication or authorization issues, right? So you authorize the person, but maybe there was an endpoint that wasn't flagged correctly or in the code that's exposed to that user that shouldn't be, right? So they have access to an API endpoint to pull other customer data that they're not a customer that should have that data. So it's definitely a thing that you want to have a solution where you can detect all those issues, mitigate them in real time, and be able to authenticate and have that front end in front of all of the APIs and applications.
So one thing that I heard both of you guys say a couple times is API. And I know that the world has been talking about API security. That I've seen evidence of that just going to Black Hat and RSA, as well as in a number of little conferences also, just hearing the amount of chit chat and knowing that is really kind of on the front of what our customers are thinking about at F5, that they've got challenges insofar as API security is concerned. It should be noted that all of these lines here in this architecture, these are all essentially APIs, right? I mean, even a web front end is going to communicate with all of these back end systems via API. So I guess what kind of stuff would we do to kind of be prescriptive here?
Well, and kind of your point too, all these lines are APIs. It's what's not being depicted here, where they are, right? So some of these could be in a public cloud, some of these could be on-prem. Some of these are being accessed from a mobile phone application, some are being accessed from a web application, or they're just business-to-business API calls. And so that's definitely where you need a solution that can meet wherever your APIs are in any form factor, any environment. So you definitely want to be able to have all that to be able to meet those needs of those APIs. Because to your point, I mean, I don't think we have a depiction of it, but we have what we call the ball of fire, right? So it's just showing all these disparate environments and all these API calls just shooting all over the place. A lot of them going over the public internet. So you definitely want to make sure you have security, and they're also exposed to the public internet. So security is paramount there.
Okay. Now, I mean, how would this kind of thing affect compliance? Are there any sort of compliance things that we ought to be thinking about here?
Chad, do you want to go that, or I can cover that too?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start by saying, there's a new open finance. People are calling that kind of the open finance regulation that I mentioned earlier. The CFPB 1033 came from the Dodd-Frank regulation, went into effect here recently, and there's been a good amount of noise around it. And recently they announced they were going to kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit, but there's like kind of in flux right now. I think it's the best way to put it. But essentially, all these things are laid out on what to do as far as you have to have the proper authentication and the right kind of API security, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll Travis, I don't know if you had anything to add.
Yeah, I mean, and with all these new regulations coming out, I mean, obviously Europe's always leading the charge in a lot of these regulations and standardizations, which is great. In the US, it's been a little bit more of kind of self-regulating on some aspects of it, but there's definitely
Okay, so so to me, if I'm reading that correctly, I'm thinking like in an environment, API discovery is like a must-have at this point. If you're in banking and you're going to be expecting to be involved in open finance, you have to have discovery that helps prevent things like any shadow APIs, right? If you know what's flowing through there,
Right.
you're gonna and if you don't know what a shadow API is, by the way, anyone listening, it's pretty simple. I'm sure you have updates on an API or something like that. An API, any program which exposes an API. And if you update that, let's say there's one that maybe doesn't get updated and it's sort of lost in the shuffle. Maybe it's not in your main load balancing group that you've got for a particular API. Well, if it's just sitting off there and it's still powered on, it's still accessible. And at that point, you don't really know what could necessarily be hitting that. Or labs. Labs are another spot that seems to get hit with shadow API stuff. If they can route into that lab somehow, that could be a problem.
Yeah, or you have teams and a customer that are just trying to get to market fast. So they're pushing a new API endpoint out to the internet or out to the market as fast as they possibly can without involvement of your security or InfoSec teams. And so a lot of the security involvement isn't there. And so it's an exposed API that's sitting out there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that
you can't protect what you can't see, right?
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's how can you, like, if you don't have a proper API inventory that has all the different exposure types. I mean,
right. Yeah, you
not good.
definitely, yeah. If you're definitely, when you're looking at a solution for this, you want to make sure you have a platform that's holistic. That both one is scanning the code for the API in the repository from day one, looking for any type of vulnerabilities and identifying all of the endpoints that are going to be within it, continually scanning it to look for any additional or new vulnerabilities in the future. But then also, as you roll those APIs out to your production environment, that you have a real-time protection in place to protect from new zero-day attack vectors or any other type of things that you can remediate with a WAP or web application API protection solution.
okay. Now,
Okay.
I was just going to say, with the majority of our customers being, F5, or I'm sorry, the majority of our listeners and viewers today being F5 customers, where might they find those kinds of protections within our portfolio, Travis? I know you're in the field, so just in case anyone's scratching their head going, oh, my Big IP 6400 doesn't have any any API discovery. What?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we definitely have a lot of different products to match where the applications live in different solutions. So the big IPs do have some levels of API protections. Nginx, which is more of a container solution, has Nginx App Protect, which has some API protections, and it can be an API gateway as well. But then our distributed cloud platform is kind of a little more of a holistic solution. So it's your single pane of glass managed solution where you can deploy the software in any form factor for it. It's managed from one single point. But also we run it as a SaaS service too. So if you don't want to run or manage any software, you can have the traffic and all the services be handled from F5 as a service.
That's handy. I personally, I'm a fan of the distributed cloud. I have been since we purchased it. So, okay, so that gives us an idea of some of the possibilities. If you're out there scratching your head, wondering, what equipment do I have already? How can I expand on that? I mean, most of our customers are familiar with the fact that you can typically do an add-on to unlock new features and things like that. So that's good. That's good. We got that covered.
Could I just add, if you do have the base package for distributed cloud, API discovery actually comes with the base package, like kind of in where you can test, a small amount out, just kind of see how it works. It's not at a production level, but for those of you out there that have the base package, you can fairly easily turn that on and kind of check out, how it works and stuff.
It's so cool to see that graph. It's like a wave graph, and it shows you where all the different connections are being made to all the different elements within the application. So,
Yep.
to me, that was going onto that team and actually selling some distributed cloud for a time. That was the mind-blowing piece for me. I was looking at that going, "Oh my gosh, I could trace out every single API call that goes through this environment and
Right.
figure out where it's going physically even."
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the API discovery is a huge thing. Be able to understand what you have exposed, see all of the API endpoints, the calls being made to them, helping it inventory, helping it build a schema for that API is huge because you don't know what you have exposed, especially if you have shadow APIs out there, right? So you can now see all that traffic coming through, you can identify it, and then put mitigating controls in with the solutions as you identify them and any additional things that pop up in the future on it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I think, that's the majority of, I think, what we wanted to cover today. I did want to touch on a quick article, though, also. We did have our very own Chase Abbott at DevCentral ended up teaming up with, I noticed you helped on this one, Chad. This
Yeah, a little
article.
bit. It was mostly Chase. He did all
Mostly
the
Chase.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, Chase, you heard that. If you're out there listening, he totally did not throw you under a bus. He just totally gave you all the credit. So this was that one picture we were looking at together. That's right. Any overview thoughts on this one, Travis? I know you just took a quick peek at this. But again, it kind of calls out a lot of the basics that we've been talking about. Authentication, like auth and auth, right? That's the big deal. Encryption, access control, that's one of those controls that we talked about.
Can you go back to encryption? Let's talk about PQC a little bit. I think this is, it's in there.
Let's make it complicated. Okay. Where did it go? Data encryption. Yep.
Number 2. Yeah.
Yes, so I can cover that too. So definitely with a solution you pick, you want to make sure that it can help mitigate and remediate, right? So like a solution like distributed cloud or big IP, we can start implementing post-quantum ciphers, which is PQC, in place today that are NIST standard that we can help protect from the future threat of quantum computers being able to crack the key exchanges that exist today. So these are new key exchanges that are mitigating any type of quantum computers that could crack that. So the threat here is that it's kind of it's what it's called harvest now, decrypt later, right? So people could be capturing in this API calls that are going over untrusted networks or even trusted networks and capturing this data. And then when the threat of quantum computers in the future becomes available, that data could be decrypted. And all of the API calls, all of the data inside of it could be exposed and leaked.
So I'm just going to add a quick dramatic flair there. I talked to a couple people at a conference recently over at Black Hat that were not really concerned at all about what we've been calling Q Day. I think that was coined by Chuck. But it is good to know if you're one of those thinking, post-quantum crypto is not going to impact me. It's going to be 20 years until they start breaking ciphers or whatever. It should be noted that 8-bit RSA fell about 4 months ago. So that has already been cracked. And it's, if you're still out there running 8-bit certs, then you almost deserve to get hacked at this point. But, I don't think anyone is running those. But the point is that it has happened mathematically, right? And we're only going to get better at this thing as we go. And geez, I mean, just to get really sci-fi for a second too, if you end up having an artificial intelligence that's able to work with post-quantum resources, then we're really talking about some danger Will Robinson type areas.
Yeah, you're going to want to have those ciphers in place.
Oh, yeah. That's been the big talk around the office, at least for me. I don't know about you guys.
Yep.
Okay. Any other notes on this one that really, I mean, we did cover, I think, most of this one.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, kind of on the authentication piece, right? A solution that supports OAuth 2.0, or mutual TLS authentications, and then being able to make sure that you have schemas in place that you can have that authorization, right, of what API endpoints they should have access to, what rate limits they should be able to have, and a lot of other mitigation controls that can be put into place with the solution to, one, protect the infrastructure, but also protect the data.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I guess
I'll just add. I mean, it's my understanding a lot of people have point solutions right now, and they're disparate.
Yep.
It can be overwhelming trying to kind of keep track of all the different areas. So having a system like this that kind of keeps it all in one spot is pretty helpful.
Yeah, and a simplified solution, and that just helps you get to market quicker. One, have better security, better efficacy, and then the ability to roll and deploy API endpoints or web applications, anything really. Speed to market is key.
Yeah.
well, that's I'm excited that you guys have taken the time to put all this together, and I'm glad we started talking about these things. It's always helpful for me to go ahead and educate the community on this kind of stuff. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. I mean, in kind of just talking about that solution, right? I mean, working with a financial services customer right now that's very interested in using this for API protections, and so in their avenue, they want a control plane that's SaaS or single pane of glass managed, which we can deliver. But their data plane for this customer, they've had experiences with different issues with different cloud providers, kind of being a black box and having issues, and they can't troubleshoot it, and they're relying on that provider. So what they want is they want that control plane, that single plane that's controlled, but they want the data plane to go through an environment or network that they manage and control. So we're working with them to deploy what we call our customer edge CEs from distributed cloud. So it's our same software that runs our SaaS service, but you can deploy it anywhere. And so in this environment, they want to deploy the software in Equinix POPs. And they'll have a bunch of POPs across the world, and then have those APIs be secured through the customer edge software, both through the internet, but then also with their larger customers, they have private links. So they'll have private links coming into Equinix facilities, and then they'll have the customer edge sitting out front protecting it, using our web application API security, but able also to do a bunch of mitigations. The one other functionality they like is if the internet edge of it were to ever get DDoS attacked or some form of thing that's overwhelming one of the Equinix POPs, they can then route it through what we call our regional edges or our POPs, which is our SaaS service. And now we can do mitigations for large DDoS attacks, anything on that's hitting that API. And it's the same configuration, same policy. So it's super seamless for them, and they love it.
awesome. Yeah, and that's one of those things. I know I mentioned to you before. That's one of the things that I loved about the distributed cloud itself. Just the fact that it can ride that Equinix fabric directly. It's got a fantastic speed, between the platform itself and any Equinix POPs that are out there. Majority
and the Equinix POPs is what they've chose to host that, but it could be anywhere. It could be on their own data centers. It could be in any other facility. Right? The software can run on anything, anywhere. And have that same control.
Yeah, I think I've seen it on on things like Pis, Raspberry Pis and whatnot. I mean,
again, I wouldn't put production traffic through it, but it's possible.
Yep, I'm running AI on a Raspberry Pi right now. It's not ready for prime time either, but that's Pi. Okay, well, I think we've been chatting for a bit now. I think we probably should leave some of this for our community to go ahead and download. So, community, I'm going to be putting a bunch of links out there on the video. So if you're looking for any of the data that we've talked about here today, please just check out the video and definitely subscribe to community.f5.com and our YouTube, right? I mean, it's interesting too, because this was a completely unannounced live stream and popped it up. And as soon as we went live, it was neat to have actual people already listening and tuned in, ready to go. So as long as you guys keep finding this stuff interesting, we'll keep doing it. And thank you, Travis and Chad, for being on today. I really appreciate it, and hope to have you on again sometime in the future.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for having me, Aubrey. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you, community. We'll see you again on the next one.
Yeah.